Good morning. Welcome to SimWorld today. Victory Monday edition for the team down south, not the team in Houston who could not go on the road and handle the elements of Lambeau Field. I'm Marsh. I'm joined by Rick. A 1-0 Sunday for Jacksonville, an 0-1 Sunday for the Texans. I mean, look, I'm going to cherish these because I'm not going to get a lot of them, but suck it, Rick. Suck it. We got the win.
I'm not mad at that, Marsh. Good morning. The Alpha and Omega of SimWorld today is here. We handle the elements just fine in Green Bay. A kicker did what a kicker done, and it just is what it is. It happens.
Handled the elements except for the final couple minutes. We're going to get to that game last. I want to start off with first the Chiefs and the 49ers. The Chiefs go on the road. They remain unbeaten. The 49ers season from hell continues as Brandon Ayuk is believed to have torn his ACL, and they fall there now. At 3-4 are the 49ers. The Chiefs are somehow winning games with Patrick Mahomes throwing 8 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. The Chiefs are somehow winning games with no Travis Kelce, and the 49ers are continuing to lose games inexplicably. I don't know. I'm at a loss of words, Rick. I'm at a loss of words on both sides, but Chiefs, let's start there because they actually won. I don't get how this team's still winning, but here we are.
Listen, if you're the NFL, you're cringing right now. You're scared. You should be scared as a little boy. The fact that the Chiefs are still winning ball games and their wide receivers trash, their running backs hurt, offensive line, man, Patrick Mahomes is still not playing good football right now. And their defense is A1, and they are still finding ways to beat teams. Bro, this is crazy. Like 1 week, 2 weeks, it's like, okay, well, maybe they got lucky, but this has been happening for most of their season this year. This is a scary sight. If the Chiefs can actually start playing decent football on offense, I mean, who's to say they're not raising the Lombardi again this season? They're already undefeated, and they're playing terrible as a team. But they got two words that changes everything, and their words are Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, at no point in this season have they looked awesome, right? I mean, week 1 against Baltimore, not really a great game. Should have lost week 2 to Cincinnati. On the road at Atlanta, didn't really play that well. Barely got by the Chargers on the road. Their only dominant win, if you will, was their Monday night matchup against New Orleans, and even that was kind of borderline. I've always rooted for undefeated teams just because I want to see greatness, right? So I'd rather see a team, even if I don't like them, go undefeated because it's like, wow, that's an impressive feat. But this team just feels like they should be 4-2 right now, yet they're sitting at 6-0. On the other side, San Francisco. People keep wanting to say this is the best team in the NFC. There's no way they are. They lost Debo for part of that game. They lost Ayuk. They're still without CMC. Brock Purdy has not looked impressive. Their defense has not been able to get stops. This is a team that just looks inadequate right now, especially who we'll get to in a second. You look at teams like the Lions and the Vikings, who looked great. The San Francisco 49ers just look meh, just boring. Like the very typical Super Bowl hangover team that came an overtime away from winning it all. It's time to look at the 49ers seriously and say, I don't think this football team is good enough to make a deep run as we sit here today. And it's very difficult for me to find a way to say, but just wait for this all to come together. Because you get CMC back, sure, but you didn't have Juwan Jennings yesterday. Brandon Ayuk looks terrible. Your first-round pick got shot in your home city. I mean, barely home city. This team just looks so inadequate and incapable of actually being a serious championship contender.
You know, this is one of those teams where, and I don't say this often, but I have to in this particular instance. This is one of those teams where I don't know how good they can actually be because I've very rarely seen all of their players play together at one time. Debo gets nicked up every single game. He's out in, out in. He's never, even when the games that he plays, he's never played an entire full game. They injury bugs, as you said. CMC is out. The other wide receivers is now out. The defense been holding down as much as they can, but they've entered an ass kicking contest with only one leg. And so you're asking them to compete to be the top 5 ass kickers with one leg. And so that's almost impossible. And their team and their record is showing it. Are they on paper with all things being considered, everyone's healthy? Can they be a one of the teams to beat? Yeah, you can't say they can't, but we haven't seen that, so we can't say that they are. So, do they suck this year? Probably. Is that would they suck as bad? They had all their players healthy? Probably not. But this is where we are. The NFL makes no apologies. It is what it is, and this is the product that you have to put on the field for San Francisco.
Well, the only thing keeping San Francisco alive right now is that the NFC West is an equally disappointing division. They're 3-4. They're second behind Seattle, who won last night. They're moved to 4-3. Somehow the Cardinals, who play this afternoon or tonight, Monday night, and the Rams at both at 2-4, somehow not out of the division race yet. We walked into the season thinking that maybe it's like the NFC East could be the worst. Actually, I take that back. The NFC South would probably be the worst division. It's been the NFC West. It has been the NFC West. It's been atrocious. But the best division in football has been the NFC North. And we saw an absolutely doozy of a football game between the Vikings and the Lions. The Lions get the walk-off win, handing the Vikes their first loss, a loss on the road. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, this Detroit Lions defense came up big in massive spots. This team is dangerous. Jared Goff continues to look like a great offensive piece. This is a game, the Lions and the Vikings game, and similar to the game we're going to talk about third. You walk away from that, and I'm not convinced of anything on these two teams. I look and say, both those teams I could see in the NFC Championship game or potentially advancing into the Super Bowl. The Lions may have won. I don't know that they're the better football team.
All of what you said is true except one statistical fact. Since Flores has been the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, they've only given up 30. They've only got scored 30 points on 4 times ever.
Be true with
three of those times was by guess who, Marsh?
Right.
The Detroit Lions. 3 out of the 4 times they've ever been scored 30 points on was from the Detroit Lions. Sometimes a team just match up very well with you, and it kind of got your number. And I think the Detroit Lions is that to the Minnesota Vikings. Takes nothing away from Minnesota as long as they don't have to see Detroit until the conference championship game. Minnesota's gonna be just fine because they are legit. But the Detroit Lions, for whatever rhyme or reason, just matches up very well against Detroit, and they have been statistically one of those teams for them. It just is what it is.
Research Rick on the scene. I guess. My God, look,
pretty Marsh.
Detroit is dangerous, and I don't deny the fact that they may just have a statistical or maybe just a matchup advantage. But they've barely played over. Obviously, they played 2 of the last 3 weeks last season. This is a different version of Minnesota. But what I thought Detroit did a really good job of was not allowing this Minnesota defense to feel like they have felt through parts of this season. Especially, you go back to that San Francisco win, which now doesn't quite look as dominant, but still very dominant. You go back to that Houston win in Week 3 where they completely shut down C.J. Stroud. This Minnesota Vikings defense has looked impactful in all but 2 games this season. And I mean like disruptively impactful. And those 2 games were against Green Bay and Minnesota. Or excuse me, against Detroit. This has been the best division in football. And again, yes, sure, Detroit has now beaten Minnesota 3 straight times, including going back to the end of 2023. But I still don't look at these 2 matchups and say, I'm going to head over heels fall in love with Detroit. What it does change, though, is that now the advantage goes to Detroit for a potential NFC Championship game at home if it were to come to that. And it also would be forcing, because it's going to happen, we're probably going to see the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers in the NFC playoffs. And 2 of those 3 teams are going to have to play in the wild card round of the postseason, while the other team, maybe with a 1-game advantage on the record sheet, is going to get a first-round bye and not have to play in the wild card round. That is a massive advantage for the NFC North and whoever walks away with that crown. Let's go to that third team. It's Green Bay.
And by the way, Jared Goff is arguably the hottest quarterback right now in the NFL that no one's talking about.
He is good looking. Yeah, he is good looking.
Jared Goff is no. I don't mean by he's slinging that thing. He's slanging that thing. No one's really talking about it.
You went even further than me. Okay. I didn't say it. Family programming here. Texans
I want
Packers.
the football, man. Guys, it's too
You
early for this. Your
you
mind
said
just be
it.
the
You
gutter
said it,
so
not me.
early in the
You
morning.
said it, not me. You said it, not
Throwing
me.
the football.
Yep, he is slanging that thing, as Rick just said. Big Jared Goff fan. Packers beat the Texans at home. They walk off with a 24-22 win. And you know what? Take everything I just said about the Vikings and the Packers and copy and paste it to right here, because this was a good football team, or a good football game between two very good football teams. And I don't walk away saying, Packers, you got it done. All this proves to me is that you can get the ball last and you can make a field goal. But this was, again, a matchup of two teams that probably have aspirations, and rightfully so. Not probably, have aspirations and probably will be living up to them, of deep postseason teams. Two great defenses, two great head coaches, two great quarterbacks went at it. It just so happens that this is a game where you walk out and say they had the ball last. And I don't feel comfortable enough, just like in the last one. I can't sit here and say they had the ball last and I think they're head and shoulders better than the other team. The timing just worked out for them.
Agreed. I agree. I was upset when the last drive for the Texans, they stopped the clock by trying to throw it and left 55 seconds left on the clock for Green Bay, and that was enough time for Love to do what he does to go
Yep.
ahead and take his team down for the game on the field. It was one of those games. Stroud played terribly. Less than 100 yards passing. You probably will never see that again. But yet and still, we were still in a position to win the ball game because we forced 3 turnovers for Green Bay. It was exactly what you said. I think if the Texans would have had the ball last, they could have easily went down the field and did the same exact thing the Packers did and got a game-winning field goal. So it was just one of those things where a great game, two great young quarterbacks, the future of this league, uh, did enough to put their team in position to win. And somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. That's how the cookie crumbles. And it is what it is. Great game by both teams, but we're not scared of Lambeau at all. And there was a lot of feistiness between Diggs and Alexander. That's probably a whole different segment by itself. But we like our chances if we ever need to go to Lambeau Field. It wasn't snowing. It wasn't quite the elements, but we like our chances at Lambeau Field.
Well, they're not going to have to go to Lambeau Field because obviously that's an NFC, but they might have to go to Pittsburgh, who just demolished the Jets. So, hey, maybe it wasn't a wide receiver issue there. Who they might have to go to Buffalo, who's 5-2. They might have to go to Kansas City. Those are all three cold weather teams. Obviously, one loss by Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Kansas City maybe comes back to earth, gets a little bit of the less of the luck, and Houston's hosting. One of the things that I guess does stand out that is a takeaway is we saw it twice on Sunday. It's definitely happened more, but I'm not going to sit here and say I can remember every single instance. But I know what happened with the Jaguars against the Texans because, ineptitude. But poor play calling in the final moments of game where you have the lead and you're not forcing the opponent to take timeouts and you're throwing the ball. The Jags did it. It opened up the door for Houston to walk down and win that game. That happened between Minnesota and Detroit. They did not force Dan Campbell to use more of his timeouts and or let the clock run, and that happened in Green Bay where the Texans did not get forced to use their timeouts or run the ball. If you are up, I know there's an infatuation with making this back-breaking play, but the difference that putting a team on the field with 0 timeouts or running an additional 40 seconds off the clock is massive in games like this where you end up losing. When if it comes down to the last possession, don't allow that last possession to be a minute and change, because in the SWFL, it's simply these teams are too good and the quarterbacks are too talented. It's not college football. You're not Texas going up against UTSA, and Texas got smacked on Saturday. But you're not facing a quarterback that doesn't really know what they're doing. 80% of the time, your opposing quarterback is going to know what the heck they got going on, and they're going to be put into a situation to win the game. And that happened twice on Sunday with just poor play calling down the stretch. And that's really what decided these two games, and that's the margin of error between these two teams.
Unless you're the Cowboys, then it doesn't matter.
Unless you're the Cowboys, then it doesn't matter. Real quick, because I'm just looking at the standings right now because all roads lead to Jacksonville. Jags with the win. We're not completely out of the wild card race, folks. Are they going to make it? Probably not. But hey, the 13th, we're there. With Broncos and Colts, we could chase them. We could chase them down.
The Jaguars' best home record happens to be in a whole other country.
Heck yeah, it does. We just and against a team that sucks like the Pats. Now the Jags are
If y'all could just play all of your home games in another country, maybe you guys have a chance.
Let's not do that for the sake of Duval County and Jacksonville proper.
You
Let's not do
said
that.
Duval out there too. That was weird. They was talking about Duval. It was really weird the way in Europe y'all saying Duval, but it is what it
When you're
is.
saying
Man,
Duval in Jackson in London,
yeah.
you know, geography can be a challenge for Floridians.
Yeah. But hey,
Some
man,
people forget.
shout out to Duval. Shout out to the Jaguars, man, for getting the dub, man. I'm proud of y'all. I'm proud of little brother. I like to see little brother get some accolades and successfully ride his bike down the block without falling off of it, man. I'm proud of you. I'd have to come scrape you, patch you up. You didn't scrape your knee. I'd have to tell mama, look at little JoJo fell down again. I like the Jaguars. Little brother, you guys did good this week. I'm proud of y'all.
Hey, established in 1993 and never grew up since then. That's how this team rolls. All right, that is our show. We're back tomorrow where there's going to be some SimWorld U action on the horizon. Broadcasted games return to CBS, including the game of the week. Number 5, Duke and Cooper Flag head to Tuscaloosa to take on number 3, Alabama, and DJ Childs and company. That one's at 8:30. That follows up a pretty darn good game to lead it off. Number 12, Texas, at number 10, UConn at 7 p.m. Both of those on CBS Sports. We'll rock it to it here on the YouTube channel as well. Rick, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again
You
on
lucky
Friday.
we don't have time to talk about the robbery that Alabama received during its AP Top 25 rankings. Number 4?
Number 3.
Bro.
They're number 3.
Number 3. So the number 3, it should be number 2 or number 1. Tennessee being ahead of them is just criminal, but don't get me started on that. Please don't get me started on that rabbit
I'm
hole.
sure if they beat Duke, they'll be number 1 again, or for the first time, and it'll be our 4th number 1 team in as many weeks. That's our show. We're back tomorrow on Tuesday. We will be talking to you then. Appreciate you tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld